The first 100,000 pounds will break you. It will test every ounce of patience you possess. It will make you question whether any of this is worth it. You'll watch your balance crawl from 10,000 pounds to 15,000 pounds over a year of brutal discipline and think, at this rate, I'll be dead before I'm wealthy. And you're right to feel that way. Because the first 100,000 pounds is a lie. It's financial purgatory designed to filter out those who don't have the temperament for wealth. But here's what nobody tells you. The moment you cross that threshold, everything changes. Not gradually, suddenly. The second 100,000 pounds takes half the time. The third takes even less. By the time you reach 500,000 pounds, money compounds so fast it feels like cheating. I'm 90 years old. I've built fortunes, watched fortunes built, and witnessed thousands fail at this exact point. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, the difference between those who become wealthy and those who remain broke isn't intelligence, isn't luck, isn't even hard work. It's whether they can survive the psychological torture of the first 100,000 pounds. Because that first 100,000 pounds is designed to make you quit. It's structured to feel impossible. The mathematics are rigged against you. Your behavior must be superhuman. Your patience must be infinite. Your discipline must be absolute. And the rewards? Laughably small for years. This is by design. Wealth building isn't a meritocracy where the smartest win. It's a war of attrition where the last person standing inherits everything. And the first 100,000 pounds is the battlefield where most soldiers fall. But here's the paradox that will either liberate you or devastate you. Once you cross 100,000 pounds, the exact same mathematics that made the beginning torture make the continuation effortless. The boulder you've been pushing uphill for a decade suddenly crests and begins rolling downhill, gathering momentum, accelerating beyond anything you experienced before. The wealthy don't have secret strategies you don't know about. They've simply crossed an invisible line where mathematics stops fighting them and starts working for them. Where compounding shifts from theoretical to visceral, where wealth generation becomes automatic rather than agonizing. That line is 100,000 pounds. I'm going to show you why this happens. Not with motivation, not with inspiration, with cold, brutal arithmetic that explains why the beginning destroys most people and why the continuation rewards the few who survive. You'll understand why your first 10,000 pounds feels like climbing Everest, while your 10th 100,000 pounds feels like falling down a mountain. Why years of discipline that produce 30,000 pounds suddenly produce 30,000 pounds in a single year. Why wealthy people seem to get richer effortlessly while you're grinding for every pound. This isn't mysticism, it's mathematics. Exponential mathematics that works against you in the beginning and for you after the inflection point. So let me tell you the complete truth about the first 100,000 pounds. Why it feels impossible. Why that impossibility is necessary. And why crossing that threshold is the single most important financial milestone of your entire life. Because once you understand this, you'll never quit. You'll endure the torture knowing exactly what awaits on the other side. Why the first 100,000 pounds breaks most people. Let me show you the arithmetic that makes the beginning so punishing. These aren't theories. These are the mathematical facts that explain why you feel like you're drowning when you're actually building wealth. Year 1, the insult. You start with nothing. You manage to save 5,000 pounds through painful discipline, saying no to holidays, driving an old car, skipping meals out, living below your means while everyone around you consumes freely. You invest it wisely. You earn 10% that year, an excellent return by any standard. You end the year with 5,500 pounds. 500 pounds. That's your reward for a year of sacrifice. 500 pounds that barely covers a decent weekend away. At this rate, reaching 100,000 pounds will take... You can't even calculate it without getting depressed. This is the first brutal truth. In the beginning, your behavior matters infinitely more than your returns. That 500 pounds you earned from investment returns? It's nothing compared to the 5,000 pounds you saved through discipline. Your returns are a rounding error. Your savings rate is everything. But saving feels terrible. It's pure deprivation. You're denying yourself today for a tomorrow that feels impossibly distant. And the numbers barely move. Year 3. The doubt. You've maintained discipline. You save 5,000 pounds every year. You earn solid 10% returns. After 3 years, you have roughly 18,200 pounds. 3 years, 18,000 pounds. You're not even 20% of the way to 100,000 pounds. Meanwhile, your university friend just bought a Tesla on finance. Your colleague is posting Instagram photos from Bali. Your sister renovated her kitchen. They're living now. You're sacrificing for some abstract future that keeps receding. This is the danger zone. This is where most people's resolve breaks. They cannot tolerate being this disciplined for results this modest. The gap between their sacrifice and their reward feels insulting. Year 5. The grind. Let's say you maintain superhuman discipline. You save 5,000 pounds every year and earn 10% annually without deviation. After 5 years, you have roughly 33,900 pounds. 5 years, nearly 34,000 pounds. You're not even halfway to 100,000 pounds? 5 years of your life. 5 years of saying no to things you wanted. 5 years of watching others enjoy what you denied yourself. And you're still closer to zero than to your goal. This is where 90% of people quit. They cannot tolerate the psychological pain of being this disciplined for results this modest. They need dopamine. They need validation. They need to feel like they're winning now, not in some abstract future decade. So they stop saving. They reward themselves for their years of discipline. They buy the car, take the holiday, upgrade the flat. They convince themselves that enjoying life matters more than building wealth. And they restart the clock at zero again. Year 7. The invisible war. Even if you persist, and most won't, Year 7 brings a different torture. You now have approximately 50,000 pounds. You're finally at the halfway point. But here's the cruel trick. Going from 0 pounds to 50,000 pounds feels exactly the same as going from 50,000 pounds to 100,000 pounds. Both feel impossible. Both require the same discipline. Both generate the same doubt. You look at your 50,000 pounds and think, another 7 years of this? The mountain ahead looks as steep as the mountain behind. There's no sense of momentum, no feeling of progress, just the same grinding discipline, producing the same modest results. Year 10, still climbing. Even with iron discipline, 5,000 pounds saved annually, 10% returns, no mistakes. After 10 years, you have roughly 87,650 pounds. A decade of sacrifice, 10 years of your life. You're still not at 100,000 pounds. Let that sink in. A decade of doing everything right. A decade of discipline that 95% of the population couldn't maintain. And you're still climbing toward a number that doesn't feel remotely like wealth. This is the cruel mathematics of the beginning. Compounding doesn't feel powerful because you don't have enough capital for it to work on. Your 5,000 pound earning 10% generates 500 pounds. Nice, but not life-changing. Your 10,000 pound earning 10% generates 1,000 pounds. Better, but still just a month's rent. Your 50,000 pound earning 10% generates 5,000 pounds. Okay, now we're talking, but you saved that same 5,000 pounds through behavior. The returns aren't carrying their weight. You're carrying all the weight. And it's exhausting. The hidden truth. But here's what you're not seeing. Here's the invisible truth that sustains those who persist. In year 1, your investment returns were 500 pounds. In year 5, your investment returns are 3,390 pounds. In year 10, your investment returns are 8,765 pounds. Same 10% rate. But now it's working on 87,650 pounds instead of 5,000 pounds. That 8,765 pounds is more than you saved in any single year. For the first time, your money is earning more than you're saving. The boulder is starting to crest the hill. But most people never see this moment because they quit in year 3, or year 5, or year 7. They never reach the point where compounding shifts from theoretical to tangible. Why it feels impossible. The first 100,000 pounds feels impossible because of 5 mathematical and psychological realities. 1. Your returns are tiny in absolute terms. 10% of 10,000 pounds is 1,000 pounds. Mathematically impressive, psychologically boring. It doesn't change your life. It doesn't feel like progress, it's just a number on a screen. 2. Your behavior carries all the weight. For years, actual years, you must save relentlessly while seeing minimal movement. The compounding everyone talks about is invisible. Your discipline is the only thing that matters. 3. Comparison destroys you. Everyone around you is consuming. They're buying cars, taking holidays, renovating homes. And their happiness looks real even though it's financed by debt you can't see. You feel like a fool for sacrificing while they enjoy. 4. Progress is invisible in daily life. Going from 20,000 pounds to 40,000 pounds doesn't feel different day to day. You're still budgeting, still saying no, still waiting. The sacrifice continues, but the reward remains distant. 5. Time distortion makes it worse. When you're young, 10 years sounds like forever. The sacrifice feels endless. You can't imagine maintaining this discipline for a decade. The future seems abstract, while the deprivation is visceral and immediate. This is by design. This is the filter. Wealth building is structured to eliminate those who cannot delay gratification, cannot ignore social pressure, and cannot persist through years of invisible progress. The first 100,000 pounds is an initiation rite. It's testing whether you have the temperament for wealth. Most people fail this test, not because they're incapable, but because they cannot tolerate the psychological torture of the climb. But here's the secret that changes everything. If you can survive this phase, if you can endure the years when mathematics works against you, you reach a point where everything transforms. And that transformation is so dramatic, so powerful, so undeniable that it justifies every moment of the climb. When the boulder starts rolling downhill. There's a moment in wealth building that feels almost supernatural. I call it the inflection point. It's the moment when you stop feeling like you're building wealth and start feeling like wealth is building itself. That moment happens somewhere around 100,000 pounds. Let me show you exactly what changes, and why this change is so profound that it justifies every year of torture that preceded it. The mathematics transform. At 100,000 pounds invested, earning 10% annually, you generate 10,000 pounds in returns. Read that again. 10,000 pounds. That's more than you saved in many of your early years. Your capital is now working as hard as you are. At 150,000 pounds, you generate 15,000 pounds annually. Your money is earning more than many people's salaries. While you sleep, while you work, while you do absolutely nothing. At 200,000 pounds, you generate 20,000 pounds annually. Your investments are producing serious income passively. At 250,000 pounds, you generate 25,000 pounds annually. That's a respectable salary generated by capital you spent years building. This is the inflection point, the moment when compounding shifts from nice in theory to holy hell, this actually works. The psychological transformation. Something profound happens psychologically when you cross 100,000 pounds. Multiple things shift simultaneously. You stop feeling poor. Not because 100,000 pounds makes you rich, it doesn't, but because you can finally see the mechanism working. You've proven to yourself that the system functions. The doubt that plagued you for years evaporates. You start thinking differently about money. When your investments gain 10,000 pounds in a year, you notice. When they gain 15,000 pounds, you start understanding that capital has its own earning power. When they gain 20,000 pounds, you realize your capital is becoming a second income stream. The sacrifice suddenly makes sense. The years of discipline that felt endless suddenly feel purposeful. The delayed gratification that tested your sanity suddenly justifies itself. Every no you said to immediate pleasure suddenly paid off. Momentum becomes visible. For years, progress was invisible. Now it's undeniable. You can see wealth building not just year over year, but month over month. The numbers move fast enough to register emotionally. Confidence replaces doubt. You spent years wondering if you were wasting your time. Now you know. You've crossed the threshold. You've proven you can do this. The question shifts from, will this work, to how much can I build? This psychological shift is as important as the mathematical one, because once you believe in the process, maintaining discipline becomes easier. You're no longer pushing against doubt. You're riding momentum. The accelerating timeline. Here's where the magic becomes undeniable. Watch what happens after 100,000 pounds. From 100,000 pounds to 200,000 pounds. If you keep saving 5,000 pounds annually and earning 10%, this takes roughly 7.5 years. Wait, what? The first 100,000 pounds took 10 to 12 years of grinding discipline. The second takes only 7.5 years. And you're doing the exact same thing. Same savings rate, same return rate. Dramatically different timeline. From 200,000 pounds to 300,000 pounds. Takes about 5 years. The third 100,000 pounds takes half the time of the second, which already took less time than the first. From 300,000 pounds to 400,000 pounds takes about 3.5 years. From 400,000 pounds to 500,000 pounds takes about 2.5 years. From 500,000 pounds to 600,000 pounds takes about 2 years. Do you see the pattern? Each 100,000 pound increment takes progressively less time. Not because you're doing anything different, not because you suddenly got smarter or luckier, but because compounding accelerates exponentially, not linearly. The boulder you pushed uphill for a decade is now rolling downhill, gathering speed with each passing year. The Charlie Munger observation. Charlie Munger once told me something I'll never forget. The first 100,000 pounds is a bitch, but you've got to do it. I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on 100,000 pounds. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit. He was right. That first 100,000 pounds requires you to provide all the energy, all the sacrifice, all the discipline. Your returns help, but marginally. After that, your capital starts contributing meaningfully to its own growth. The burden shifts from your behavior to your capital's performance. By 200,000 pounds, your capital is doing half the work. By 300,000 pounds, your capital is doing most of the work. By 500,000 pounds, your capital is doing nearly all the work. And your contributions are just accelerating an already powerful process. The exponential curve revealed. Let me show you the full timeline so you can see the complete transformation. 0 to 100K, 10 to 12 years, the torture, 100K to 200K, 7.5 years, the awakening, 200K to 300K, 5 years, the acceleration, 300K to 400K, 3.5 years, the momentum, 400,000 pounds to 500,000 pounds, 2.5 years, the compounding, 500,000 pounds to 1 million pounds, 7 years, the wealth. From 0 to 100,000 pounds takes over a decade. From 500,000 pounds to 1 million pounds takes 7 years. From that point, each million comes faster than the last. Your second million takes less time than your first. Your third million takes less time than your second. This is exponential growth made visible. This is why wealthy people seem to get richer effortlessly. They're not smarter. They're not working harder. They've simply crossed the threshold where mathematics works for them instead of against them. Why the next 100,000 pounds comes effortlessly. Let me be clear, effortlessly doesn't mean without discipline. You still need to avoid stupidity. You still need to stay invested through volatility. You still need to keep contributing when possible, but it feels effortless compared to the first 100,000 pounds because 1. Returns are now meaningful in absolute terms. 10,000 pounds annual gains feel substantial. 20,000 pounds annual gains feel like real money. You're not dealing in hundreds anymore. You're dealing in thousands or tens of thousands. 2. Momentum is psychologically powerful. Watching your wealth grow visibly month after month creates positive reinforcement. The discipline that felt painful before now feels rewarding. 3. You're steering, not pushing. The first 100,000 pounds required you to push the boulder uphill with pure force. Now you're steering it downhill, making small adjustments to keep it on course. 4. Confidence eliminates doubt. You spent years wondering if you were wasting your time. Now you know the system works because you've seen it work. Faith is replaced by evidence. 5. Time perception shifts. When progress was invisible, time felt endless. Now that progress is visible, time feels fast. Years that dragged before now fly by. 6. Social pressure evaporates. You no longer care that others are consuming while you save. You've seen the results of your discipline. You know where this leads. Their validation becomes irrelevant. The cruel irony. Here's the brutal irony that explains wealth inequality. The people who most need wealth, those struggling financially, living paycheck to paycheck, buried in debt, face the hardest journey to £100,000. No existing capital, lower negative savings rate, frequent financial emergencies. Every attempt to save gets derailed by unexpected expenses. The grind from £0 to £100,000 for them might take 15, 20, even 25 years if they ever make it at all. Meanwhile, the people who already have wealth find adding to it trivially easy. Someone with £500,000 can generate £50,000 annually in returns without lifting a finger. They're not smarter. They're not more disciplined. They're simply on the other side of the inflection point. This is why wealth inequality compounds. The first £100,000 is a wall most never scale. The mathematics and psychology conspire against them. But once you're over that wall, building more wealth becomes dramatically, almost absurdly easier. The rich get richer not because the system is rigged, but because compounding is exponential. And exponential processes always accelerate over time. The question. So here's the only question that matters. Will you be one of the few who climbs that wall? Will you endure the decade of grinding discipline while everyone around you quits? Will you maintain your savings rate while others consume? Will you stay invested through crashes while others panic? Because if you can survive the torture of the first £100,000, you'll reach the other side, where everything you've heard about compound interest finally becomes real. Where wealth builds itself. Where your money works harder than you do. Where the next £100,000 comes not just easily, but inevitably. That's the promise. That's the reward for enduring the initiation. But first, you have to survive. And most people don't. The 5 reasons people quit before £100,000. I've watched thousands of people start the journey to £100,000. I've watched most of them quit. Not because they couldn't succeed, but because they couldn't endure the specific psychological torture that the first £100,000 inflicts. Let me tell you the 5 reasons people fail. Understanding these isn't academic. It's the difference between joining the wealthy minority or remaining in the struggling majority. Reason 1. They can't tolerate invisible progress. Humans are wired for immediate feedback. We need to see results. We need validation that our actions matter. This worked well when we were hunting mammoths. You throw a spear, you either hit the mammoth or you don't. Immediate feedback. But wealth building operates on a completely different timeline. You save £500 this month. Next month your account is £502 because of returns. That's £2 of progress. Intellectually, you know it's working. Emotionally, it feels like nothing. This emotional intellectual disconnect destroys people. Going from £15,000 to £20,000 doesn't change your life in any perceptible way. You still budget for groceries. You still drive the same car. You still live in the same flat. You still say no to the same things. The sacrifice is visceral and constant. The progress is invisible and abstract. Most people need to feel different. They need transformation they can sense. They need their life to improve in ways they can show others, even if they won't admit that's what they need. But the first £100,000 offers none of that. Your life looks and feels exactly the same at £30,000 as it did at £10,000. The only thing that changes is a number on a screen you check obsessively. So people quit. They can't persist through years where progress is real but invisible. They need transformation they can feel today, not mathematics that pays off in a decade. This is the filter. If you need immediate gratification, you'll never reach £100,000. The game is designed to eliminate you. Reason 2. Comparison destroys them. Your colleague buys a new BMW, financed of course, but you don't see that part. You just see the car. Your friend posts vacation photos from the Maldives on a credit card, but you don't know that. You just see paradise. Your sister's house is twice the size of yours, with a mortgage that terrifies her, but that's private. You just see the space. Your university mate retired at 45, living off unsustainable drawdowns that will impoverish him at 60, but he's not advertising that part. You just see freedom. You look at your investment account showing £45,000 after 4 years of discipline, and you feel like a fool. This is the comparison trap. You're comparing your behind-the-scenes reality to everyone else's highlight reel. You're comparing your sacrifice to their consumption. You're comparing your balance sheet to their Instagram. And you're losing. Every day you're losing this comparison. Theodore Roosevelt said, "Comparison is the thief of joy." In wealth building, comparison is the thief of discipline. It erodes your resolve. It makes your sacrifice feel pointless. It makes their consumption feel justified. What you don't see, your colleague's BMW costs him £650 per month he can't afford. He's trapped in a payment that will last 5 years, during which his car will depreciate by 60%. Your friend's Maldives holiday costs £6,000 on a credit card at 19.9% interest. That holiday will ultimately cost her £9,000 once the interest compounds. She'll be paying for that week for 3 years. Your sister's big house comes with mortgage payments that consume 45% of her household income. One job loss and she's in crisis. She can't sleep at night, but she can't admit it to anyone. Your retired mate has £300,000 and no pension. He's withdrawing 6% annually, thinking it'll last forever. By 65, he'll be broke and forced back to work. But right now, he looks successful. You don't see any of this. You only see their consumption. And comparison makes you question whether your sacrifice is worth it. Here's the truth. If you'll live like no one else now, later you can live like no one else. The people consuming today are sacrificing tomorrow. You're doing the opposite. But knowing this intellectually doesn't stop the emotional erosion of watching others enjoy what you're denying yourself. The comparison happens at a level below conscious thought. It whispers constantly, "You're missing out. Life is passing you by. You're being a fool." Most people can't resist that whisper for years, so they quit. They join the consumption parade, and they restart the wealth-building clock at 0. Reason 3. They misunderstand the mathematics. Most people quit because they do catastrophically bad math. They save £3,000 in year 1, earn 10%, and have £3,300. They think, at this rate, it'll take 30 years to reach £100,000. I'll be old. What's the point? But that's not how it works. That's linear thinking applied to exponential processes. If you save £3,000 annually and earn 10%, you'll reach £100,000 in roughly 18 years, not 30. Because the formula isn't addition, it's compound multiplication. And the psychological timeline is even more deceptive. Yes, it takes 18 years total. But the final £50,000 of that journey happens in just 5 years. The painful grind is front-loaded. The reward is back-loaded. But they quit in year 3 because they project their current rate of progress linearly into the future and conclude it's hopeless. They don't understand that year 15 will feel nothing like year 3. This mathematical illiteracy costs them everything. They quit just before acceleration would have made the journey tolerable. Reason 4. Life happens and they have no buffer. You're 3 years into disciplined saving. You have £18,000. Then the car dies. Or the boiler breaks, or you lose your job, or a medical emergency hits, or your child needs something urgent. You drain your investments to cover the crisis. You're back to £5,000 or even 0, and you think, what's the point? I'll never get ahead. Every time I build something, life destroys it. This is the emergency trap. It's why financial advisors preach emergency funds before investing, because life will test you repeatedly, unexpectedly, expensively. If your investments are also your emergency fund, every crisis resets your progress. You never build momentum. You're perpetually starting over. Most people experience this cycle 3 or 4 times before they give up completely. The psychological damage of repeatedly losing progress is more destructive than never starting at all. Reason 5. They don't have sustainable discipline systems. People fail because they rely on willpower instead of systems. They start with enthusiasm. They slash spending dramatically. They save 40% of their income. They feel like warriors. 3 months later, they burn out. The deprivation is too severe. They snap. They binge spend. They reward themselves for their discipline. And they never recover the rhythm. Sustainable wealth building isn't about heroic sacrifice for a season. It's about boring, modest discipline sustained for decades. Better to save 15% consistently for 20 years than to save 40% for 6 months. Burn out, quit for 2 years, restart, burn out again, and repeat this cycle forever. But most people don't understand this. They think wealth building is about intensity. It's not. It's about consistency. Boring, unglamorous, sustainable consistency. The person who saves 300 pounds per month without fail for 15 years will reach 100,000 pounds. The person who saves 1,000 pounds per month for 3 months, then nothing for 9 months, then 500 pounds per month for 2 months, then nothing for a year will never reach 100,000 pounds, even though their peak savings rate was higher. Consistency beats intensity, always. But intensity feels more impressive, so people choose it, and they fail. The common thread. Notice the pattern. None of these reasons are about market returns, investment selection, or financial knowledge. They're all psychological. People don't fail to reach 100,000 pounds because they pick the wrong stocks. They fail because they can't tolerate invisible progress, can't resist comparison, don't understand exponential mathematics, don't have emergency buffers, and can't sustain disciplined systems. The barrier to 100,000 pounds isn't financial. It's psychological. It's emotional. It's behavioral. This is actually good news, because while you can't control market returns, you can control your psychology. You can build systems. You can understand the mathematics. You can create buffers. You can resist comparison, which means reaching 100,000 pounds is entirely within your control. Not easy control, not comfortable control, but control nonetheless. The question is, can you outlast these 5 demons? Can you persist while others quit? Can you maintain discipline while your emotions scream at you to stop? Because if you can, you'll join the minority who reach the other side, where the mathematics that fought you begin working for you, where the discipline that felt punishing begins paying off exponentially. But first, you have to survive the gauntlet, and most people don't. How to survive the journey to 100,000 pounds. Knowing why people fail is useful, but what you really need is a strategy to succeed. Here's exactly how to survive the psychological and mathematical torture of the first 100,000 pounds. Strategy 1. Reframe the goal. Stop thinking about 100,000 pounds as the goal. It's too distant, too abstract, too demoralizing when you're at 8,000 pounds. Instead, set checkpoint goals. First 10,000 pounds. This is your emergency fund. Once you hit this, you have a buffer. Life's inevitable punches won't reset you to 0. First 25,000 pounds. This is psychological proof of concept. You're a quarter of the way there. You've proven you can do this. The doubt that plagued you at 5,000 pounds starts evaporating. First 50,000 pounds. This is the halfway point. You're no longer a beginner. You're an investor with real capital. Your returns start feeling meaningful. 5,000 pounds per year at 10%. First 75,000 pounds. You're in the final stretch. You can see the finish line. Acceleration is becoming visible. Each month's progress is noticeable. 100,000 pounds. Victory, the first major threshold. The end of the beginning. These checkpoints make the journey manageable. Instead of climbing a mountain, you're hiking between camps. Each camp is a celebration. Each camp proves you're making progress. Strategy 2. Automate everything. Willpower is a finite resource. You'll run out. Everyone does. That's why the most successful wealth builders don't rely on willpower. They rely on automation. Automate your savings. Set up automatic transfers on payday. 500 pounds moves from checking to investments before you see it. You can't spend what you never touch. Automate your investments. Don't manually invest each month. Automate purchases of your chosen index funds or ETFs. Remove the decision from your conscious mind. Automate your bills. Every predictable expense auto-pays. You're left with a simple calculation. What's in my checking account is what I can spend. Automation removes friction. It removes decision fatigue. It removes the daily psychological battle of choosing to save. The person who must consciously choose to save £500 every month will eventually have a weak moment and skip it. The person whose £500 automatically disappears on payday never faces that decision. Automate discipline and you remove the primary reason people fail, decision fatigue. Strategy 3. Build a lifestyle moat. Most people approach wealth building as addition. How much can I add to savings? The smarter approach is subtraction. How much can I remove from expenses? Build a lifestyle moat, a set of choices that make low spending not just tolerable, but enjoyable. Live close to work. Eliminate commuting costs and time. That's £200 to £400 per month saved and 10 hours per week reclaimed. Choose low-cost hobbies. Reading, hiking, cooking, exercising at home. These cost nothing and improve your life. Contrast with golf, £200 per month, drinking, £300 per month, or dining out, £400 per month. Cultivate friendships that don't require spending. Friends who want to get coffee instead of cocktails. Friends who suggest walks instead of restaurants. Your social circle determines your spending more than your willpower does. Optimize the big three. Housing, transportation, and food consume 60 to 70% of most budgets. Nail these and everything else is rounding errors. Live in a modest flat, drive a paid-off reliable car, cook at home. These three decisions can save you £1,000 or more per month. Create friction for spending. Delete shopping apps. Unsubscribe from marketing emails. Implement a 48-hour rule for any purchase over £50. Friction prevents impulsive consumption. The goal isn't misery, it's building a life you enjoy that happens to cost less. A life where saving isn't deprivation, but the natural byproduct of your choices. Strategy 4. Track progress religiously. What gets measured gets managed. What gets managed improves. Every month, update a simple spreadsheet. Date, balance, monthly change, running total saved, running total returns. This gives you 5 critical data points. 1. Your total progress, balance. 2. Your monthly velocity, monthly change. 3. How much came from your behavior, total saved. 4. How much came from compounding, total returns. 5. The trend over time. Is velocity increasing? This tracking does something psychologically powerful. It makes invisible progress visible. You can't feel going from £42,000 to £46,000. But seeing that £4,000 change on your spreadsheet creates a concrete sense of progress. Your brain registers it as real. Track monthly, review quarterly, celebrate annually. This rhythm creates positive reinforcement without obsessive monitoring. Strategy 5. Separate emergency fund from investments. This is critical. If your investments are also your emergency fund, life will destroy your progress. Build your first £10,000 in a high-interest savings account. That's your emergency fund, untouchable except for genuine emergencies. Not holidays, not new phones, not wants disguised as needs. Only after you hit £10,000 emergency fund do you start investing aggressively toward £100,000. This separation protects your psychological momentum. When the car breaks or the boiler fails, you handle it from your emergency fund. Your investments keep compounding undisturbed. You don't restart at zero every time life happens. Strategy 6. Exploit tax-advantaged accounts. In the UK, this means maxing out ISAs and pensions before taxable accounts. ISAs, £20,000 annual allowance as of 2025. Growth is completely tax-free. No capital gains tax, no dividend tax. This is free money from the government. Pensions, tax relief on contributions. If you're a basic rate taxpayer, every £80 you contribute becomes £100. If you're a higher rate taxpayer, it's even better. £20,000 invested in a taxable account becomes approximately £52,000 in 10 years at 10% returns after taxes. £20,000 invested in an ISA becomes approximately £51,875 tax-free. Over 20 years, this difference compounds dramatically. Tax-advantaged accounts can shave 2 to 5 years off your journey to £100,000. Strategy 7. Increase earnings alongside savings. Most wealth-building advice focuses exclusively on cutting expenses. That's half the equation. The other half is increasing income. Because there's a floor to expense cutting, you need food, shelter, transportation, but no ceiling to income growth. Negotiate raises aggressively. Most people accept what they're offered. The people who reach £100,000 fastest negotiate every raise, every promotion, every opportunity. Develop valuable skills. Whatever your field, become top 10% in one valuable skill. That skill premium translates directly to higher pay. Side income. Not a second job that burns you out, but productive side income. Freelancing your primary skill. Consulting, teaching, creating. Something that leverages your existing expertise for additional income. Career moves, sometimes the fastest raise, is changing employers. Every 3 to 5 years, assess whether moving would boost your compensation 20 to 30%. If you can increase income by £5,000 per year while maintaining your savings rate, you're now saving £10,000 per year instead of £5,000 per year. This halves your timeline to £100,000. Don't just cut expenses, grow income. Both matter. Strategy 8. Insulate yourself from comparison. Comparison will destroy you if you let it. You need systems to protect yourself. Curate your social media. Unfollow anyone whose content triggers envy or makes you feel behind. Follow people sharing their wealth-building journey, not their consumption. Choose your friends carefully, not coldly. But be aware that your 5 closest friends determine your financial outcomes more than your intelligence does. Friends who encourage saving reinforce your discipline. Friends who pressure you to spend erode it. Stop reading lifestyle publications, magazines, blogs, Instagram accounts that showcase luxury consumption. They're designed to make you feel insufficient so you'll buy things. Protect your mind from this poison. Practice gratitude religiously. Every day write down 3 things you're grateful for in your financial life. This rewires your brain from scarcity, what I don't have, to abundance, what I do have. Remember, their balance sheets are hidden. When someone flaunts consumption, remind yourself, I can't see their debt, their stress, their sleepless nights, their lack of savings. I'm comparing my behind the scenes to their highlight reel. Comparison isn't going away, but you can build defenses against it. Strategy 9. Create accountability. Tell someone about your goal. Not someone who will sabotage you, someone who will support you. A spouse, a trusted friend, an online community, even a financial advisor. Someone you can report progress to. Someone who can call you out if you start deviating. Accountability creates external pressure that complements internal discipline. On days when your willpower is exhausted, accountability keeps you on track. Public commitment works even better. Tell 10 people you're on a journey to £100,000. Now, quitting requires admitting failure publicly. That's powerful motivation to persist. Strategy 10. Plan for the psychological valleys. There will be moments, many moments, when you want to quit. Plan for them. Write yourself a letter right now. Explain why you're pursuing £100,000. What it means to you. What life will look like on the other side. What you'll lose if you quit. Seal this letter. When you hit a psychological valley, and you will, open it. Read your own words written when your motivation was high. Also, create a proof of progress document. Every quarter, screenshot your account balance. After 2 years, you'll have 8 screenshots showing undeniable progress. When you feel stuck, look at this visual proof that you're actually winning. These psychological tools sound soft. They're not. They're the armor that protects you during the inevitable moments of doubt, comparison, and fatigue. The survival strategy in summary. Reaching £100,000 isn't about brilliant investing. It's about survival systems. Reframe the goal into manageable checkpoints. Automate all discipline to remove willpower dependence. Build a lifestyle moat that makes low spending enjoyable. Track progress obsessively to make invisible progress visible. Separate emergency funds from investments to protect momentum. Exploit tax advantages to accelerate the journey. Increase income alongside expense reduction. Insulate yourself from comparison poison. Create accountability to supplement willpower. Plan for psychological valleys before they arrive. These 10 strategies don't make the journey easy. They make it survivable. They give you the tools to endure the decade of grind that most people cannot tolerate. Because surviving is winning. The person who reaches 100,000 pounds isn't smarter or luckier than the person who quits at 30,000 pounds. They simply had better systems for surviving psychological torture. Build these systems. They're the difference between joining the wealthy minority and remaining in the struggling majority. Life after 100,000 pounds, when wealth builds itself. Let me paint you a picture of what life looks like after you cross 100,000 pounds, because understanding the destination makes enduring the journey tolerable. Year 1 after 100,000 pounds, the awakening. You have 100,000 pounds, you maintain your 5,000 pound annual savings. Markets return 10%. End of year, 115,500 pounds. You added 15,500 pounds in a single year. That's more than you had total in your first 3 years combined. Your 1-year progress now exceeds your first 3 years of grinding. This is the awakening. The moment when you viscerally understand what everyone means by compounding. It's not theoretical anymore. It's real. It's happening to you. You look at that 15,500 pound gain and realize your capital is now carrying significant weight. You provided 5,000 pounds through savings. Your capital provided 10,500 pounds through returns. Your money worked twice as hard as you did. This realization changes how you think about everything. Year 3, after 100,000 pounds, the momentum. You now have approximately 145,000 pounds. This year alone, your returns are 14,500 pounds. Add your 5,000 pound savings, and you're adding nearly 20,000 pounds annually. Remember when it took you 3 years to save your first 15,000 pounds? Now you're adding 20,000 pounds in a single year. The boulder isn't just rolling downhill, it's accelerating. Year 5, after 100,000 pounds, the disbelief. You have roughly 180,000 pounds. Your annual returns are now 18,000 pounds. Combined with your savings, you're adding 23,000 pounds per year. At this rate, you'll hit 200,000 pounds within a year, then 250,000 pounds shortly after. The numbers start feeling unreal. You remember the psychological torture of going from 10,000 pounds to 20,000 pounds. That took nearly 2 years. Now you're adding 20,000 pounds plus annually without breaking a sweat. This is when wealthy people start seeming less impressive. You realize they're not financial geniuses. They simply reach critical mass and let mathematics do its work. Year 7. After 100,000 pounds, the second 100,000 pounds, you crossed 200,000 pounds. The second 100,000 pounds took you 7.5 years, half the time of the first 100,000 pounds. Your annual returns are now 20,000 pounds. Your capital is generating a respectable salary passively, and you still have your actual salary on top of that. This is when you start feeling wealthy. Not rich, not never work again wealthy, but secure, comfortable, ahead of 90% of your peers. Year 10 after 100,000 pounds, the transformation. You have approximately 265,000 pounds. Your annual returns, 26,500 pounds. Combined with savings, 31,500 pounds per year growth. In 1 year, you're adding more than you had total after 5 years of initial grinding. This is the transformation. You're no longer building wealth through sacrifice. You're building wealth through mathematics. The heavy lifting is done. You're now just maintaining discipline while compounding does the real work. Year 15 after 100,000 pounds, the disbelief. You cross 400,000 pounds. Your annual returns 40,000 pounds. That's a full salary generated by capital. You could theoretically live off your investment returns while your actual salary continues building the pile. You remember the person you were 15 years ago, grinding away at 20,000 pounds, wondering if this was all pointless. You wish you could go back and tell that person, keep going. I promise it works. I promise the mathematics are real. Year 20. After £100,000, the wealthy life. You have approximately £650,000. Your annual returns £65,000. At this point, you could stop saving entirely. Your capital alone, compounding at 10%, would make you a millionaire in a few more years. But you won't stop saving. Because by now, discipline is habit. You don't save because you need to. You save because that's who you've become. The lifestyle transformation. Here's what changes in your actual life after £100,000. 1. Financial stress evaporates. You still budget. You still live below your means, but the anxiety's gone. You know you're going to be fine. The numbers prove it month after month. 2. Opportunities expand. With capital comes options. You can take career risks others can't afford. You can seize opportunities that require capital. You can say no to things that don't serve you. 3. Time becomes valuable. When your capital generates £20,000, £30,000, £40,000 annually, spending 10 hours to save £100 becomes poor economics. You start optimizing for time over money. This is a fundamental mindset shift. 4. You stop envying others. You're too busy watching your own wealth compound to care what others are consuming. Their new car looks like a depreciating liability, not an aspiration. 5. You think generationally. With £200,000, £300,000, £500,000, you start thinking about legacy. What you'll leave your children. How you'll help family. The impact you can make. Scarcity thinking gives way to abundance thinking. 6. Compound interest becomes your religion. You've seen it work. You've lived it. Now you can't unsee it. Every financial decision runs through the lens of, how will this affect my compounding? The psychological transformation. But the bigger transformation is internal. You become patient. Years of delayed gratification rewired your brain. You can now wait for anything. This patience compounds into every area of life: relationships, career, health. You become disciplined. The muscle of discipline, exercised daily for years, is now powerful. You apply it everywhere. Fitness, learning, relationships, career. You become confident, not arrogant, but deeply confident. You set a goal everyone said was impossible, and you achieved it through sheer persistence. Now you know, if you can do this, you can do anything. You become independent. Financially, yes, but also psychologically. You proved you can ignore social pressure, resist comparison, and pursue long-term goals despite short-term pain. That's rare. You become a different person. The person who reaches £100,000 is fundamentally different from the person who started at zero. The journey transforms you. The destination is almost secondary to who you became along the way. What you can do with £100,000 plus. Let's be practical. What does this capital actually enable? At £100,000, genuine emergency fund £10,000 plus £90,000 invested. Career flexibility can take months off to retrain, pivot. Investment in yourself, courses, coaching, experiences that grow you. Down payment optionality, house, business, opportunities. At £200,000, early retirement becomes mathematically possible, though not yet advisable. Passive income, approximately £20,000 per year, supplements earned income significantly. Major life pivots become feasible: entrepreneurship, sabbaticals, relocations. Generational wealth starts. This can become your children's head start. At £500,000, semi-retirement is possible. Your capital generates median income. Financial independence is near. A few more years and you're done. You can take big swings, start businesses, take risks, because your downside is protected. Legacy wealth is established. Even if you stop here, this compounds to millions. The compounding continues. Here's the beautiful part. It never stops accelerating. From £500,000 to £1 million takes roughly 7 years at 10% with £5,000 annual contributions. From £1 million to £2 million takes roughly 8 years. Your first £100,000 took a decade of torture. Your 10th 100,000 pounds takes 2 years and feels easy. This is exponential growth made real. This is why time in the market beats timing the market. This is why the wealthy seem to get richer effortlessly. Because they are. They reached critical mass and mathematics took over. The invitation. This is available to you. Not someday, not theoretically. Actually available. If you're at 0 pounds and you start saving 5,000 pounds annually with 10% returns, you'll have 100,000 pounds in approximately 12 years, 200,000 pounds in approximately 19 years, 500,000 pounds in approximately 30 years, 1 million pounds in approximately 37 years. That timeline sounds long, it is long. But here's the truth, those years will pass whether you save or not. 37 years from now, you'll either be a millionaire who endured the discipline, or you'll be broke wondering what might have been. The journey from 0 pounds to 100,000 pounds is torture. I won't lie to you about that. It will test everything you have. But the journey from 100,000 pounds to 1 million pounds is mathematics. Pure, beautiful, undeniable mathematics working for you instead of against you. The question is, will you endure the torture to reach the mathematics? What nobody tells you about the first 100,000 pounds. I'm 90 years old. I've built wealth, lost wealth, rebuilt wealth. I've watched thousands succeed and tens of thousands fail. Let me tell you the truths about the first 100,000 pounds that nobody wants to say out loud. Truth 1. It's supposed to be this hard. The difficulty isn't a bug, it's a feature. The first 100,000 pounds is hard by design because wealth requires a specific temperament, and that temperament must be forged through difficulty. If reaching 100,000 pounds were easy, everyone would do it. And if everyone did it, it wouldn't be valuable. The psychological torture you experience, the doubt, the comparison, the delayed gratification, the invisible progress, these aren't obstacles to overcome. They're the curriculum. The pain is teaching you patience, discipline, independence, and delayed gratification. These characteristics are more valuable than the 100,000 pounds itself, because once you have them, you can build wealth again and again. You can survive anything. You can achieve goals others find impossible. The journey to 100,000 pounds isn't testing whether you're smart enough. It's testing whether you're strong enough. Most people aren't. That's okay. But if you are, you've earned something money can't buy. Character that's been tested and proven under fire. Truth 2, nobody's coming to save you. You will not win the lottery. You will not get a massive inheritance. Your company's stock options will not make you rich. Some distant relative will not die and leave you millions. These fantasies keep people from taking responsibility. They're waiting for external salvation instead of building wealth themselves. I'm going to tell you something harsh. The universe doesn't owe you wealth. Society doesn't owe you wealth. Your employer doesn't owe you wealth. If you want 100,000 pounds, you have to build it yourself. Pound by pound. Year by year. Through discipline, nobody will applaud, and sacrifice, nobody will notice. This is actually liberating. Because if nobody's coming to save you, then you're in complete control. Your outcomes depend entirely on your choices, your discipline, your persistence. You're not waiting for permission. You're not dependent on luck. You're building wealth through behavior you control. Truth 3. Your timeline doesn't matter. You might reach 100,000 pounds in 8 years. You might take 15 years. You might take 25 years if life is particularly hard. The timeline doesn't matter. What matters is that you're moving forward. I've met people who reached 100,000 pounds at 28 and others who reached it at 55. The person who got there at 55 often ended up wealthier because they maintained discipline for longer. Your only competition is the person you were yesterday. Are you further ahead today than you were last month? Last year? That's all that matters. Don't compare your year 3 to someone else's year 10. Don't compare your 25,000 pounds to someone else's 75,000 pounds. Compare your 25,000 pounds to the 15,000 pounds you had last year. That's progress. That's victory. Truth 4. The goal isn't really 100,000 pounds. The goal is who you become in pursuit of 100,000 pounds. The goal is developing patience that serves you in every area of life. Discipline that transfers to fitness, relationships, career, health, independence from social pressure. ability to delay gratification, confidence from achieving difficult things. If you reach 100,000 pounds but remain undisciplined, impatient, and dependent on external validation, you haven't really won. You got lucky with a bull market. But if you develop iron discipline, infinite patience, and true independence in pursuit of 100,000 pounds, you've won even if you only reach 80,000 pounds. Because those characteristics will serve you for life. The money is just the scorecard. The real game is character development. Truth 5. It gets easier but never easy. After 100,000 pounds, the mathematics get easier. Compounding accelerates. Returns become meaningful. Progress becomes visible. But discipline never becomes unnecessary. You can't reach 200,000 pounds by abandoning the habits that got you to 100,000 pounds. You can't reach 500,000 pounds by starting to spend everything you earn. The journey gets easier in that you're steering instead of pushing. But it never becomes easy in the sense that you can stop being disciplined. Wealth is built through discipline and maintained through discipline. The discipline required changes, less sacrifice, more strategic thinking, but it never disappears. People who reach 100,000 pounds and then relax often find themselves back at 100,000 pounds 10 years later. They stopped growing because they stopped being disciplined. The people who reach 100,000 pounds and maintain discipline find themselves at 500,000 pounds, 1 million pounds, 2 million pounds. The compounding never stops if the discipline never stops. Truth 6. Most people will never understand. When you reach 100,000 pounds, don't expect applause. Most people won't understand what you achieved. They'll think you got lucky or that you earn more than you do. They won't see the decade of discipline, the thousands of times you said no when they said yes, the meals at home while they dined out, the old car you drove while they financed new ones, the holidays you skipped while they posted Instagram photos. All they'll see is the number, and that number won't even impress them because 100,000 pounds doesn't look like wealth to people who don't understand compounding. This is fine. You're not building wealth for applause. You're building it for freedom, security, options, peace of mind. The validation you need doesn't come from others. It comes from watching your wealth compound, from knowing you're financially secure, from having options others don't have. Let them not understand. Their understanding is irrelevant to your success. Truth 7. Starting is more important than optimizing. People spend months researching the perfect investment strategy before starting. They want to optimize everything before taking action. This is procrastination disguised as preparation. The difference between investing in a globally diversified index fund versus a perfectly optimized portfolio might be 1% annually. The difference between starting now versus starting in a year is everything. Start now with a simple strategy. You can optimize later. But every month you delay starting is a month of compounding you lose forever. Perfect is the enemy of good. Good enough started today beats perfect that starts next year. Buy a low-cost global index fund. Set up automatic monthly investments. Start. You can get sophisticated later. But start now with simple. Truth 8. The first 100,000 pounds changes everything. I've said this throughout, but let me emphasize it one final time. 100,000 pounds is the inflection point that changes your entire financial life. Before 100,000 pounds, you're building wealth through behavior. Your savings rate matters more than your returns. Progress is invisible. Discipline is torture. After 100,000 pounds, you're building wealth through mathematics. Your returns start mattering as much as savings. Progress is visible. Discipline is rewarded tangibly. This isn't poetic language, it's mathematical reality. At 10% returns, 10,000 pounds generates 1,000 pounds per year. Feels like nothing. 50,000 pounds generates 5,000 pounds per year, equals your annual savings. 100,000 pounds generates 10,000 pounds per year, exceeds your annual savings. 200,000 pounds generates 20,000 pounds per year. Serious money. 500,000 pounds generates 50,000 pounds per year. Median household income. The transition from building through behavior to building through mathematics happens around 100,000 pounds. This is why it's the most important milestone in wealth building. Truth 9. You'll remember this time. Years from now, when you have 500,000 pounds or 1 million pounds, you'll look back on the grind to 100,000 pounds with something strange: nostalgia. Not because it was fun, it wasn't, but because it was transformative, because it proved something to you that you needed to prove, that you could do difficult things, that discipline works, that patience pays off, that you're stronger than you thought. The person you are at 500,000 pounds will feel gratitude toward the person you were at 20,000 pounds, grinding away in doubt. That person's discipline created your current abundance. This is why I always tell young investors, cherish the grind. You only get to do this once. The transformation happens here, in the difficulty, not in the abundance that follows. Truth 10. It's worth it. Every moment of sacrifice, every time you said no while others said yes, every month of invisible progress, every year of delayed gratification, it's worth it. Not just for the money, though the money is nice, but for the person you become, for the financial security, for the options, for the peace of mind, for proving to yourself that you can achieve difficult things. The first 100,000 pounds is torture, but it's the most valuable torture you'll ever endure. Because on the other side is a life most people never experience. A life where money works for you instead of you working for money. Where financial stress is absent. Where opportunities are abundant. Where you have the freedom to make choices based on what you want, not what you can afford. That life is waiting for you. It's not easy to reach. It requires years of discipline most people don't have. But it's there, on the other side of 100,000 pounds. The question is, will you endure the journey to get there? The choice before you. I'm 90 years old. I won't be here forever. So let me leave you with the most important thing I've learned about wealth building, distilled to its essence. The paradox: the first 100,000 pounds feels impossible because you're pushing against mathematics. Your behavior provides all the energy. Your returns barely register. Progress is invisible. The grind feels endless. The next 100,000 pounds comes effortlessly because mathematics is now pushing with you. Your capital contributes meaningfully. Progress is visible. Momentum accelerates everything. Same person, same discipline, same investment strategy, completely different experience. This is the paradox. The torture of the beginning makes the ease of the continuation possible. You cannot skip the hard part. The hard part is necessary. It's building the foundation that makes everything else possible. The filter. The first 100,000 pounds is a filter. It separates those who have the temperament for wealth from those who don't. It tests, can you delay gratification for years? Can you maintain discipline when progress is invisible? Can you resist comparison with those who consume? Can you persist through doubt, setbacks, and boredom? Can you survive without external validation? Most people fail these tests, not because they lack intelligence or capability, but because they lack the temperament. They need immediate gratification. They need visible progress. They need social approval. The market doesn't care about these needs. Mathematics doesn't bend to accommodate them. So these people never build wealth, and they spend their lives wondering why. The timeline. Here's the reality if you start today. Save 5,000 pounds annually with 10% returns. Year 5, 33,900 pounds, feels impossible, progress invisible. Year 10, 87,650 pounds, still climbing, doubt increasing. Year 12, 107,800 pounds, crossed 100,000 pounds, transformation begins. Year 19, 200,000 pounds, momentum undeniable. Year 30, 500,000 pounds, wealthy. Year 37, 1 million pounds, financially independent. Those numbers are conservative. Many will do better. Higher savings rate, better returns, career growth that enables larger contributions. But even conservatively, this timeline works. It's proven. Millions have followed this path. The question isn't whether the mathematics work, they do. The question is whether you can maintain discipline for the timeline required. The decision point. You're at a decision point right now. Not someday. Not when circumstances are better. Now. You can choose the path of discipline, Start saving today. Invest consistently. Maintain discipline for years. Endure the grind to 100,000 pounds. Reach the inflection point where wealth builds itself. Or you can choose the path of consumption. Spend what you earn. Enjoy today. Hope something changes. Reach 60 with nothing and wonder where the time went. Both paths are available. One is painful at the beginning, but rewarding at the end. One is pleasant at the beginning, but devastating at the end. Most people choose consumption. They choose immediate pleasure over delayed abundance. They choose fitting in over standing out. They choose easy now over wealthy later. This is why most people retire broke. Not because they earned too little, but because they consumed everything and built nothing. The guarantee. I can't guarantee you'll reach 100,000 pounds in 10 years. Life might interfere. Markets might disappoint. Circumstances might slow you down. But I can guarantee this. If you maintain discipline, you will reach 100,000 pounds. It might take 12 years or 15 or 20, but you will get there. And once you get there, everything changes. The mathematics transform, the psychology shifts. The journey from 100,000 pounds to 1 million pounds becomes not just possible, but probable. Wealth building isn't about luck. It's about discipline sustained over time. And discipline is a choice you make every single day. The compounding of character. Here's what most people miss. Money compounds, but so does character. Every day you choose discipline over impulse, you're becoming more disciplined. Every time you delay gratification, you're building the capacity to delay gratification. Every instance of saying no to social pressure makes the next no easier. Your character is compounding, just like your wealth. By the time you reach 100,000 pounds, you're not the same person who started at zero. You're stronger, more patient, more independent, more confident. These characteristics transfer to every area of life. The patience you built through wealth accumulation makes you a better spouse, parent, friend, leader. The discipline transfers to health, learning, relationships, career. You're not just building wealth, you're building yourself. And that's the real prize. The invitation. I'm inviting you to join the minority. The small percentage who endure the grind to 100,000 pounds, who survive the psychological torture, who maintain discipline while everyone around them consumes. It's not an easy invitation. I'm not promising comfort or immediate gratification or social approval. I'm promising something better. Transformation, financial security, freedom, options, peace of mind, and the deep satisfaction of achieving something difficult that most people never accomplish. The path is clear. The mathematics are proven. The strategy is simple. All that's missing is your decision. The first step, the journey to 100,000 pounds begins with a single transfer. 500 pounds, 1,000 pounds, whatever you can afford. Move from checking to investments. Today, not tomorrow, not next month, today. Then it continues with the second transfer next month. And the third the month after. And the fourth, 1 month at a time, one decision at a time. One act of discipline at a time. Until one day, years from now, you check your account and see 100,000 pounds, and you realize the torture is over. The mathematics have transformed. The boulder is rolling downhill, and your life is forever changed. My final words, I've lived 90 years. I've seen everything wealth building has to offer, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, the first 100,000 pounds feels impossible. The next comes effortlessly. This paradox is the secret to building wealth. Endure the impossible part, and the effortless part will follow. Most people quit during the impossible part. Don't be most people. The wealthy aren't smarter than you. They aren't luckier. They didn't have better opportunities. They simply persisted through the psychological torture that made you quit. That's the only difference. Persistence through discomfort. If you can survive the journey to 100,000 pounds, you can build wealth beyond anything you currently imagine. The mathematics guarantee it. The question is whether you have the character to endure the journey. I believe you do. The question is, do you believe it? Start today, save today, invest today, begin the journey today. because the first 100,000 pounds is waiting for you. And on the other side of that threshold is a life of abundance, freedom, and peace that most people never experience. That life is yours if you want it, but you have to earn it. Through years of discipline, through invisible progress, through delayed gratification. Are you ready?